I'm Nicole Alexander and I'm actually a fourth generation grazier, so I live over the New South Wales border west of Goondiwindi, and in my spare time I write. I'm the author of The Bark Cutters. I have a background in marketing and I worked in both Sydney and Singapore, and in the late 90s I decided to go back to the bush for 12 months or so, and that got me thinking about the emotional attachment that generational landowners have towards their properties, and that's why that gave me the idea for the seed of the Bark Cutters. And as I investigated further, I realised that to really sort of talk about the conflicting allure of rural heritage, it would work best within the framework of a generational saga. So that was basically the background for the book story. It has an interweaving narrative, so 50% of it is set in the 1850s and 60s, and that follows Hamish Gordon, who's an illiterate, poverty-stricken Scottish Highlander who leaves his home for the new world of Australia with his younger brother, starts off in the Victorian goldfields and then gradually heads north through deceit, cunning and stock theft. He manages to amass a huge swathe of country, somewhere generically in northwestern New South Wales. He's very much obsessed with creating a legacy in his own name as far as the property is concerned, but also for his descendants as well. And because of that obsession, both through his personality and the hardship of the environment in which he lives, he loses a lot of those people that are closest to him along the way. And that storyline virtually sets the reader up for an introduction to his great-granddaughter Sarah, which is when we come to the contemporary section of the novel, and she is very much torn within the conflicting allure of rural heritage and whether she should actually be on the family property or if she should pursue a career in a life that's very much different. As I said, I really wanted to write about just a solid bush story that would be picked up by people who perhaps live in more urbanised areas, so they would get a good slice of Australian rural life. And me, having worked in the city, coming back into the country, I think gave me the experiences through the opportunities I'd had to talk about it. But yeah, it's most definitely all fiction. My contract with Random House is for 2 books. So when I signed with this one, they said, okay, we'd like a sequel. Can you send us a synopsis in a week? And I was like, oh yeah, okay. So I did the synopsis. So it basically carries on from where this book finishes, and it's due to the publisher mid-July of this year for release again April of next year. So basically once you start, they really want you to do a book a year, because particularly, this is my first novel, even though I've been writing for a very long time, you really have to try and cement your reading audience. So that's why they try and get the book, one a year happening. Don't know how I'll go with the 3rd book, because I'm still struggling a little bit with the sequel, but anyway. Yeah, I decided to do the Masters because I was getting to the end of writing the manuscript for the Bark Cutters, and I just couldn't think of an ending. And so I thought I really need to do a good long distance course that will help me focus and also, hone my writing skills and get some feedback as well, because as a bush writer you very much are writing in isolation, but then you're working in isolation as well, so you don't get the opportunity to discuss your work with a lot of people because of the distances involved. So I chose CQU because their course sounded fantastic, and my professor was very supportive. He's actually in the acknowledgements of the Bark Cutters. I haven't met him, so I hope he comes today because I'd just like to say hi, obviously. But from an assistance point of view, the library was just unbelievable because, of course, you could search online, get any information you wanted, and 3 days later you'd have it in the mail. So anyone who wants to do a long distance course, you couldn't go any better than CQU, I don't think, because if you had any problems whatsoever, it's either email and the phone call, and people are just so helpful. Yeah, it's amazing.